Back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button. Like, subscribe button. Tell a friend, tell a friend. They say Chicago has been a violent city, you know, over the past few years, past few months. But believe it or not, Chicago has been bad since the Al Capone days. I believe that was in the 20s. In the 80s, it was just as bad as it was in the 20s. It was just as bad in the 80s as it was in the 90s. It was bad as in the 90s as it was in 2000s. It was bad in 2000 as it was in 2010s. And it was bad in 2010 as it is in 2020s. Wow, Chicago's a crazy place. Let's bring it back to 1989 and see how it was then.
What's it like here? What's the neighborhood like?
Like a bad neighborhood.
Dangerous?
Yes.
They brought in a person shot in the leg.
Can you tell when somebody's going to shoot?
Yes. They just grab their gun, just start shooting.
10-1 and
As you can see, a lot of gangs destroyed Chicago, like how they destroyed a lot of major cities throughout the whole U.S.
10-1, 116-1, maybe.
One time they came over this way, and then they saw this lady, and she said something to them, and then she had a big hole in her head when they killed her.
They shot her.
I don't know what they did.
Did you see her?
Yes.
How often do you hear gunshots?
Too often.
Johnny Shannon.
They said a lot of individuals who were in this video right here, the ones who stayed in Chicago and had children, their children became the brand new problems of Chicago.
Is 10 years old. He lives within walking distance of Chicago's Gold Coast, but it's several worlds away. His home is Cabrini Green, a name at once both saintly and sylvan. It is neither.
When I first came here, it reminded me of Vietnam.
It's been called a city within a city.
The guy said it reminded him of Vietnam, but they call it Chirac now, war zone. I wonder why these individuals are so fascinated by wars, or do they just want to be like their fathers?
The most notorious public housing project in America. Dennis Davis patrols it for the Chicago police.
Drive straight through.
Built in the 40s and 50s, it was supposed to provide safe, inexpensive, integrated housing for people trying to save money to buy a house. Today, it's 70 acres of no man's land, void of legitimate enterprise.
Unfortunately, a lot of individuals, instead of saving their money and trying to buy a house, they decide to make the projects their permanent homes over generations.
With its own laws and its own language.
Now, this building is called The Rock.
The Rock?
Yeah, The Rock.
Why do you call it The Rock?
It's like the Rock of Gibraltar. You know, it's there, you can't get to it, and it's the strongest thing in Cabrini. There's normally a sentry. He's standing right there in front of 1150 now.
What's he looking for?
This would be the old block equivalency in the 1980s. Very similar situation.
Police. They're selling drugs from the lobby. He'll see us when we make the turn, and if they're dealing, he'll just walk away into the building. And once they get into the building, that's it. We won't find them.
Cabrini is part of the worst public housing system in the country. So bad that 2 years ago, the federal government threatened to take it over. The Chicago Housing Authority doesn't even know who lives in its building.
It's real unfortunate. As I said, a lot of these individuals were behind the bars when this, from 1989 in Chicago. They were behind the bars in 1989 in Chicago. Now it's 2024, and they're still behind the bars. The only difference is now they have a lot of their family members with them, the younger ones.
but 100,000 people are waiting to get in. The only structure is provided by the gangs, who marked their turf with spray paint and set up sniper posts in high-rise buildings. The working poor Cabrini was designed for have long since fled, leaving the desperate alongside the helpless.
They say gangs just ruin communities. So when gang leaders go behind the bars, you shouldn't feel sorry for them, because in reality, the whole intentions was to ruin community.
I don't give a damn how hard you try to teach your kids to walk a straight line. Those game bangers are the role model for these children in this neighborhood.
60% of the households here are headed by single women. Patricia Welch is one of them, trying to raise 3 boys. 2/3 of Cabrini's residents are children.
What's it like living here?
Hell,
Why hell?
because you don't know if a bullet gonna come through your window, you don't know why you're going to the store, if you're gonna be shot at, or your children be hurt in any kind of way.
A lot of individuals from Chicago in the 80s, most of their fathers was not around. I believe they said in the 80s was the beginning of the trend of a lot of men, especially black men, not being in their children's lives, because most of them, believe it or not, were behind the bars. Some were murdered also.
When was the last time they were shooting here?
Well, my building last night.
Do you think your mother worries about you living here?
Yes,
Why?
because when you go outside, there's bad things happening out there.
What's the closest you've ever come to getting hurt by the gangbangers?
Well, one time I was playing in the playground, they just started shooting back and forth.
They said a lot of gang members who were once gang members when they were free in society, they no longer want to be gang members anymore when they're behind the bars and they're a little older. I wonder why. I wonder what's the change of mind.
What do you do when you hear shooting?
I run.
We're in a battle. We're in a battle with the gangs for those youngsters.
Bob Martin heads the Chicago Intervention Network, a city agency that works with gangs.
We have what we call marginal youth, or what some gang members call trophies.
Why trophies?
They are children that are born out of wedlock, that the fathers oftentimes brag about how many youngsters they have, how many sons they have. And the code word for son is trophy. That is the next wave of gang members coming up. And when you hear gang members say, "You'll never stop the gangs," you can't stop us. We are a nation. That's what they're referring to.
Unbelievable. So unfortunately, a lot of these individuals, know or want their kids to be part of their gangs when they grow up. So they know and they want their kids to be behind the bars with them, or maybe pass away. It's a terrible mentality you have, but it's been going on since the 80s, even before that. But that's where it started.
When you think of Cabrini, you can look right out my window and see it. It's only 6 blocks, but it's a cancer that can spread into every neighborhood in the city of Chicago.
Cabrini first gained notoriety in 1981, when then Chicago Mayor Jane Byrne briefly took an apartment there.
I'm going to straighten out project living in this city, because by allowing it, we can harm the whole city, and I'm not going to have it.
By most accounts, Byrne spent 1 or 2 days a week there for 6 months, and then Cabrini once again fell into neglect. Today, the housing authority is $30 million in debt. The building codes are not being enforced, and the elevators, when they work, are called the most dangerous form of public transportation in Chicago.
Wow, they said elevators are very scary. A lot of these individuals, what they do, here we go.
Do the gangs control the elevators?
Yeah, they do.
So So wherever the gang goes, they control everything, in their mind at least, until they go behind the bars and then they get told what to do. Then they become a good boy. But on the streets, they're menace to society. They even control the elevators. Think about that. Think about that.
Yeah, they can control them. At one time, they, matter of fact, they would hide up here. And if a young lady got on the elevator, they'd jump down and, do what they wanted to do to her. They used to hide guns up there.
This is 11.
That's 11?
Right.
Okay.
It's pretty dark out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, that's another thing.
They said a lot of gang members, most things they do are unproductive.
About these elevators, because you never know what's going to happen when the door opens.
Just watch my back.
Where'd he get shot?
Well, he probably got shot somewhere around here.
Last year, 200 people were shot or stabbed in Cabrini. 8 violent crimes for every 100 people.
How long ago did he get shot?
As you can see, Chicago's been a violent place for years. As you can see, it gotten even worse as time went by.
A real short time ago, he was shot by some fellows across the way here as he crossed the field.
Did you know this kid?
Oh, yeah, about 4 years.
In 5 years, Brother Bill Tomes has seen 65 of his friends shot or stabbed. He's an emissary from the Archbishop of Chicago, a peacekeeping force of 1, who roams Cabrini at night, helping women and children negotiate the free fire zone.
Are you trying to save souls here?
No, we're trying to show God's love for people.
You're trying to keep people alive.
I think we're trying to keep people alive, yeah.
Those are pretty low expectations.
Oh, I don't know. Keep somebody alive.
Brother Bill, y'all be cool, man. Y'all be careful.
Most of the kids, for example, have been shot.
They said Cook County Jail, was made for individuals in Chicago because they knew that a lot of individuals were going to grow up and try to be just like their fathers and their grandfathers. Unbelievable.
Almost all of them have been shot.
Yeah, it's my brother. They killed my brother.
Is sudden violent death just sort of accepted here, something that happens?
Well, it's expected to happen in this kind of environment, and you never know when it's going to. It could be right now.
In fact, it was 15 minutes later. Brother Bill and the paramedics were called to attend to a stabbing victim. But they failed to achieve their modest goal.
Very serious. Stay out of the way. Stay out of the way. We're going to get out of here.
As you can see, Chicago and the gangs have always been very dangerous in the 80s. It continued in the 90s, continued 2000s. It continued 2010. It continued 2020. It's still going on. When is it
I want to know. I want to know. My God.
Her son died in the...
It's very crazy. A lot of mothers have to cry over the years. A lot of the mothers have to bury their children prematurely. So when a lot of these gang members are behind the bars, they want to get from behind the bars, but they don't want to trade places with the victims. They don't want their mothers to mourn like a lot of mothers do. The only thing they want to do is get out of jail. That's it.
Elevator. Who controls this area? Does the police control it?
Yeah, we control it. Yes.
You're serious?
I'm serious.
I believe the gangs are in control of Cabrini. And anytime they nickname the plaza area as a shooting gallery, then I don't think the police or CHA management is in control of the property.
That assessment comes not from some alderman or candidate running for local office, but from the latest director of the Chicago Housing Authority, Vincent Lane.
We've talked to residents at different housing projects in Chicago who describe the buildings they live in or the projects that they live in as the graveyard, the DMZ, death row, Beirut.
They say a lot of individuals stay in the projects because the rent is very cheap. But as time goes by, things will change. When the rent goes up, will these individuals have the luxury of going out there and doing whatever they want to do? Or will they have to go to work to combine their income to pay for the rent? I don't know. See, as you can see, unfortunately, in the 90s, Chicago got even worse. It didn't.
Come on, right up in front of the building. Just let me know what he's doing, so I go after there.
All right, this guy's right out on Lake Street. If you got somebody come up Lake and somebody hit the building, we got 2215.
Cool.
Should I? The guy with the other gun.
So from the 80s, 10 years later, the 90s now, these kids are in the same projects. Now they need to get money now. They're no longer children, but they still live in the same projects, as their mother did. And maybe they go
I'm
hopefully.
Understood.
How close are you all?
He's on the
They
move
just
again.
blew it. They're going to blow it for us if they keep coming. Somebody got to give him a wave off.
He's on the side. He's right on the side. I got him.
5300. The guy in the middle of the playground.
Here's the cops.
The guy in the middle of the playground's got the gun. He's got on a white shirt. You all the
So as the years went by in Chicago, just new police officers came on board. Younger guys grew up. Now they're the new bad guys in town. Now they're the one getting ready to go behind the bars like their fathers.
attack team was walking up now.
All right, you want out?
He's coming back toward Lake Street. He's coming back Lake Street and stop. The guy's in the middle of the playground by the slide. The one by the slide.
This guy back here.
Where's the cop? Here they are. You
Tell
want out?
him back here. Tell this guy here.
What the fuck are they doing? 5300, can I have the air squad?
Here's the gun, right here. Welcome to the door.
5300, can I have the air? Oh, top your head! That motherfucker pitched that fucking gun up in there. Where the gun at, motherfucker?
I had no gun.
Oh, motherfucking lie.
Holding your side.
No, I did.
Oh, shit.
I was holding my pants and stuff.
We got one with a gun already.
Get
that
out.
motherfucker just that pistol in that fucking vacant lot.
Stay down.
I didn't hide nothing.
Stay there.
This guy, he ran right through there.
Don't move.
A lot of individuals say a lot of people grew up in projects, never even left their projects except for certain reasons, just to go to school, but that's all they knew. A lot of them felt like getting arrested and going to jail was a normal part of, being someone in a sense.
5300, I got him in custody, and right over here, just like Oakley and just to Oakley.
You ain't gonna will you?
No, we got one gun.
He still had it going up through the alley. I know
this motherfucker had another gun.
Unfortunately, unfortunately goes hand in hand. You wouldn't need police officers if you didn't have criminals. And they say you wouldn't have criminals if you didn't have poverty. What do I know? What do I know? That's what I heard. That's what
Right to here?
Right.
So walking for these punch finders.
I'm actually wrong. There's a lot of successful criminals. They really are. They really are. As you can see, a lot of things didn't change Chicago's from the 80s to the 90s. Let's take a look at the 2000s and see what's going on in Chicago. Fortunately, in the 90s, a lot of things still didn't change in Chicago. They said the housing projects, the gangs, remained from the 80s into the 90s, and the same thing continued.
Thank you, Mark. Chicago has one of the highest murder rates among teenagers in the country, and a lot of that violence takes place in the housing projects here in Chicago. And the Erickson Institute here in the city has compared kids in these projects in Chicago to kids who live in the war zones of the Middle East and Central America.
In the two settings, in public housing and in the war zones of the world, we often find that children are exposed at very similar rates to shooting of guns. They witness violence on a day-to-day basis.
A lot of individuals say that a lot of individuals in these housing communities, they don't have their fathers. You know, for many different reasons. They say a lot of these housing communities, the fathers are not allowed to live with their children. So as a result, the kids are fatherless and they get guidance from the gangs and some love, unfortunately.
Another comparison that we've made is that children who live in a place like the West Bank feel very strongly about their home and they believe in staying and fighting for it. When we talk to children in public housing, they often talk about how they want to leave. Children in these settings are losing a lot of their childhood. They can't go out and play. It's too dangerous on the playgrounds.
10-year-old Robert Jones is one of those kids. Last April, he was hit by a stray bullet at the Robert Taylor Homes in Chicago. He is blinded for life.
Unfortunately, it's been going on for decades that individuals, kids, have been getting struck by stray bullets because certain gang members, you know, want to do all type of drive-bys or whatever they want to do from afar. It continues on.
Robert's father, Raymond Fox, joins us this morning, along with Rashawn Young, who is 17 and lives at the Henry Horner Housing Project. Good morning to the two of you.
Good morning.
Rashawn, the study found that it is extremely dangerous for kids growing up in these housing projects. What were you up against?
Well, I was up against gang violence, the possibility of trying drugs, and probably becoming a teenage father. But with the help of my mother and Chicago Commons Mile Square Community Center, I've been able to pull through some of these obstacles that I've been faced with.
How have they kept you out of big trouble?
They said by the 2000s, things started changing in Chicago. But a lot of individuals said it changed for the worse. Little change, but not much at all.
They're finally tearing down Cabrini Green. For decades, the red and white tenements near downtown Chicago have been a blot on the skyline, the nation's most infamous public housing project, synonymous with gangs, drugs, misery, and murder. And Cabrini Green is just the beginning.
As I said before, the Cabrini Green will be the modern day
plan is to replace all of Chicago's projects with beautiful new mixed-income developments. That means rich and poor living side by side. So what do you get when you take the country's most disadvantaged families, add in some young professionals, and build them a brand new neighborhood? Chicago is finding out. The experiment is already underway. It started with a bang and a round of applause. All over Chicago, they're tearing down the cinder block dinosaurs known here simply as the projects. They've been a disaster with generations.
I believe the projects was built in the 20s, could have been the 30s, no later than the 40s. They said it was there to help individuals get on their feet, but a lot of individuals decide to stay there generations after generation.
Of children raised in the squalor, but no more. By the end of 2009, all 53 of Chicago's public housing high-rises will be gone. It's the largest demolition of public housing in the nation's history. It will uproot some 40,000 people, many of whom have never lived anywhere else but public housing. People like Larry Sargent. What'd you think when you heard that the city was going to tear down your building?
I was glad.
But you were to lose your home.
I'd rather sleep on a cardboard box in the streets rather than keep going through what I was going through.
They said the projects was one of the worst experiment there was.
In Cabrini Green.
Yes, a child at 12 and 11 years old with a gun, you don't know where you might get it from.
Larry Sargent grew up in Cabrini Green, but when he took on sole custody of his baby son, he knew he had to break the cycle and get out. He never imagined that out might mean this, a brand new $70 million development just 100 yards from Cabrini Green. It's called...
They said all individuals from Cabrini Green went to other projects, and every time they knocked down projects, individuals are scattered everywhere. So everyone intertwined and mix and mingle with each other. Then cousins become foes, brothers become enemies, and become crazy.
Northtown Village, 261 condos and townhomes that represent one of the most daring concepts in public housing today. 79 families will have the chance to move out of Cabrini Green and move in here next to someone who bought one of these brand new homes at market rate. A 3-bedroom, top-of-the-line townhome like that costs nearly $500,000. The identical unit next door could be reserved for a Cabrini Green family whose rent is subsidized by the government. The project...
They said a lot of individuals is spread it out everywhere. A lot of them is getting assistance, as you can see.
It started 2 years ago with a complex mix of public and private funding. The man on the ground was Peter Holston, an idealistic developer selling this vision of gentrification with a twist.
So here's someone coming in and buying a $500,000 townhome, and we're telling him in the sales trailer, or her, that you will be living, the townhome next to you, which is no different than yours, is going to have a Cabrini Green family in it.
Basically someone who's gotten it for free.
Basically, yeah. And these people are not turning away. They're buying them.
Mark and Amanda Tomlinson bought one. Young professionals, and just engaged then, they stopped by the sales trailer the day it opened.
A lot of individuals say, a lot of individuals from the projects took their bad acts all throughout Chicago.
And I told her, for kicks, bring the checkbook, and it was just a feeding frenzy in there. I mean, everybody was just screaming and yelling, and there's one lady in there that...
Just yelling at her husband, just buy whatever is available. It doesn't matter what it looks like, just buy whatever's left.
The Tomlinsons bought this 3-bedroom townhouse on the spot. Incredibly, all the units sold before they were even built. But why would anyone invest in a neighborhood like this? because Cabrini Green and now Northtown Village sit just a mile away from Chicago's ritziest strip.
There's tons of shops. Great.
They say Chicago is one of the greatest cities on the earth. But the gang members, they don't see that. They say all they see is poverty. Even though they're living pretty good, most of them have, you know, indoor plumbing, a television to watch, a bed to sleep on. But a lot of them want more for whatever reason, so they go above and beyond, and they end up behind the bars. Some of them end up passing away also. It's usually like that. It's usually like that, though.
Stores, restaurants, and we've already seen huge big box retailers coming in.
You just gotta realize, you go 2 blocks one way, we're in the middle of a public housing. We go 2 blocks another way, we're at Banana Republic. So.
So Chicago started changing in the 2000s. We'll look at 2010. Until next time, if you like the video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe button. Till next time, here we go, F Service TV, tell a friend, tell a friend. Chicago's getting crazy. Hopefully, it will improve in the future. But as you can see, it seems to be getting worse. I'm trying to figure out why, but I have a rough idea. Why, though. I'll let me know in my next video. Here we go.